Hey everyone, today I'm here with another first impressions foundation video. Haven't done one of these in a little while, but they're definitely my favourite videos to do and also to watch. So I picked up a new foundation recently. I bought it from ry.com.au, or it's also called Recreate Yourself. So I do have a haul coming on that. It'll be up later this week. Today I'm doing it on the Loreal True Match Super Blendable Foundation. So this is what the packaging looks like. It is glass and it does have a pump. I got the shade Vanilla Rose. Hopefully it matches. I think it should. So let's give it a go. You get 30 mils and I believe this was about $20 to $25. It is more expensive here in New Zealand. That's why I did buy it off that website, because their products are kind of more on par with US pricing. So if you do live in New Zealand and you're wanting to get drugstore foundations for more reasonable prices, then definitely check out that website. I'll leave the link to it down below. It says on the back here that it is true to skin shades, capture your skin tone and undertone. Ultra fine pigments provide the perfect coverage without caking to naturally beautify your skin. Super blendable with 24-hour hydration. So hopefully this is okay for me, because I do have kind of oily skin. It is winter, so it's not quite so oily as it normally is. So hopefully this will be good for me this time of year. So I'm just going to pump some out. The pump looks really strange because it doesn't actually stick out. As you can see there, it's like quite flat. So first of all, I am just going to apply a little bit of the Too Faced Hangover Primer. Just a tiny bit, just because like I said, it is winter at the moment, so my skin is a little bit all over the place. I'm just going to put a little bit of this on just to kind of even out my skin texture a little bit. It shouldn't change the foundation too much anyway. It'll just help it apply a little bit better. And I'm not going to use a primer today. We're just going to see how this foundation performs on its own. It's super runny. The pump is really weird. It kind of just like squirts out, and as you can see, it's going to get super messy. So I don't really like the pump at this stage. So let's start with this side of my face. It is honestly probably one of the runniest foundations that I have. The colour match seems to be okay. I'm hoping it doesn't oxidize. I just realised I have no idea why I only did one half of my face, because I didn't use a primer on the other half like I sometimes do. But anyway, this is probably a good way to actually show you the difference it makes between not having any foundation on and then applying the foundation. So you can see it smoothed out my skin really nicely. You can't see a lot of redness. Like, I feel like it took the redness away quite nicely. It does look like a fairly natural coverage at this stage. It seems to be quite a wet formula, so I definitely think it's going to be one that I want to set with a powder, which I do mostly anyway, so that doesn't really bother me too much. It seemed to be okay applying it with a brush. Like, it seemed to blend okay. I probably do want to go over with a beauty blender though, or a beauty sponge, just to make sure it sinks in properly, because it is that wet formula, which I'm not a fan of when it comes to foundations. I like ones that set down quite nicely and kind of like sink into your skin, if that makes sense. But anyway, let's do this side. I really hate the pump though. It's such a runny formula that you have to be like really careful when you have it on your hand, because I feel like it could make a fairly big mess. So now I'll just blend this side in. I think the colour match is really nice. Hopefully it doesn't oxidize, but yeah, I do think it matches me pretty well. See, I feel like it looks a little bit darker compared to my neck, but my neck is like ridiculously white anyway. So as long as it doesn't oxidize, it should be fine, but I'm kind of worried that it might. I feel like it is settling a little bit like in my lines and stuff, which is a little bit of a worry. I'm just going to grab a sponge and kind of buff it into my skin, because like I said, it kind of feels like it's sitting on top of my skin at this stage, and that could be from using a brush, but I also think because it's such a wet formula, it's just kind of like on my face. So I'm just taking a Chi sponge and I'm just going to dab it over every area just to make sure it settles in nicely into my skin. Okay, so thoughts so far, it is definitely a medium coverage, I would say. Up close it kind of looks a little bit cakey, but I'm not sure if it just needs to sink into my skin a little bit more, and maybe once I set it with a powder and everything, it will all look a bit better. It's kind of weird though. I do feel like the texture is different in certain areas. Like around this kind of area, it looks a little bit cakey and dry, and then other areas it doesn't look dry. Like it looks quite wet and I don't know, it's weird at this stage. So we'll have to see how it goes once I apply the rest of my makeup and everything. Maybe it'll all just work well together or something and look a bit better. Also, once my foundation has a chance to settle down, it usually looks a bit nicer too, so that could make a difference. So far I really like the colour, other than worrying that it may oxidize. It is rose vanilla, so you'd think that's pretty fair. But you can see the difference in the colour from my neck and my face, so if you are super pale then you may have problems with that. The colour, it has 2R and 2C, so I'm wondering if there's actually a lighter one than this, maybe, so that could suit you. At this stage I don't have a whole lot of opinions on it. I think it's just okay. I haven't loved it, I haven't hated it. I like that it hides all my redness, that's really good. Yeah, so I'm just going to go and apply the rest of my makeup and see kind of how that goes, and I'll report back to you once I've done that. It's a bit later than I wanted it to be. I did go to the gym this morning, so since I knew I couldn't go later because I'd be doing this first impression and I'm going to be updating you throughout the day. So it is 11:15, so we'll just say 10:30 and I'll check back in with you once I've done the rest of my makeup. I'm back and I've done the rest of my makeup. It is 11:10, so that didn't take too long. So everything seemed to go over top of the foundation pretty well. I do feel like it's a little bit patchy, just in terms of where my skin is different skin types. Like some places are oily, some places are a little bit more dry, some places are normal. I feel like it's different in all of those areas. So I did set it with a bit of matte powder. I do feel like it looks fairly nice. It has kind of sunken into my skin a bit more now, and since I've set it, it's not so like wet looking. So it does look a little bit nicer. I'm not sure about the coverage really. Like I feel like around my chin you can see all the textures still quite a lot. I mean, it did take away the redness, but just not too sure about the coverage. I guess it would be okay for like an everyday kind of foundation, but obviously not for like filming or Instagram pictures or something like that. Look at that highlight. I just got the Makeup Revolution Golden Sugar 2 Rose Gold palette, and I used one of the highlights in there, and it's like so intense. When I put it on I was like, wow, that's too much, but you know, I'm just gonna go with it. I may do like a separate video on that palette at some stage if you guys are interested. But anyway, back to the foundation. At this stage I do feel like it looks really nice. Definitely a medium coverage foundation, so if you like a flawless full coverage foundation then this probably isn't one for you. I do hope that it doesn't oxidize. That's the one thing I'm really worried about. Not really sure if it's going to go oily or not. I do feel like it doesn't really look like it's going to, but I have said that before about other foundations and it's gone really oily, so we'll just have to see what happens. Like I said, it is winter, so there's less chance of me going so oily, but we'll have to see. So anyway, I'm going to go film another couple of videos and I might check back in with you guys in a couple of hours, and then later in the night. So I'll check back in with you later. It's now 1:30, so I've had my foundation on for about 3 hours now. And as you can see, it is a little bit oily. I quite like how the coverage is gone. I feel like it's gone a little bit more full coverage since it kind of settled into my skin a bit more. So that's really nice, and it does look like quite flawless. However, I do think that it looks a little bit cakey, particularly because it has oxidized slightly. So when foundations oxidize on me, they tend to look a little bit cakey. I'm not sure if that's just because you can see that I'm wearing makeup more, but I do think that it's a wee bit cakey. Other than that, it does look like pretty flawless. I do think it's going to go fairly oily on me, which is obviously a little bit of a problem. So far it's okay. It's not one that I would wear to work, I don't think. It's probably too full coverage for me for work. Some people will like it, so if you do like to wear a bit of a fuller coverage foundation on the daily, then this could be a good option for you. This shade is called Vanilla, and yet you can see that the difference between my neck and my face is quite a lot. So for a shade to be called Vanilla, you expect that to be like off-white or something, right? But it looks fairly orange on me, and I don't know, I would definitely have to mix in some of the Body Shop lightning drops or something like that, or a lighter foundation, because it's just too dark for me to wear on its own, I think. I mean, I do have trouble a lot because my neck is so pale, but I can see a difference and I don't really like that. But other than that, I feel like the foundation looks fairly nice. It's just a shame that it's oxidized, and I do feel like it's going to go pretty oily on me. I mean, at this stage I wouldn't touch up, so 3 hours wear, it's totally fine. I'll come back and check in with you guys later on and we'll see how it's going. So it's now 3:30, so I've had the foundation on for 5 hours. And to be honest, I don't really think it's changed in the last couple of hours since I last updated you guys. It does look a little oily, but no more oily than before. The colour, you can still tell that it's darker than my neck, but it's not like a major issue, like it's not a huge difference. I think I'd probably just use like a little more concealer in some areas just to lighten up those parts. But I wouldn't even touch it up at this point. I think it looks still fairly good. The coverage is still really good. It's really only gone oily kind of on my nose, and also because I'm using artificial lighting, I have a ring light in front of me that always makes the oiliness look a little bit worse. But otherwise I think it all looks fairly good, and it hasn't like sunken into any areas or anything. Like, it still looks fine, it's just a little bit of oiliness on my nose. It does remind me at this point quite a bit of the designer brand's longwear foundation, which is one of my favorites, and I do prefer that. Obviously the colour match is better for me, but just in terms of the texture and formula, it kind of feels quite similar. So far so good, and I will check back in with you guys one more time in maybe 3 hours or so and we'll see how it's going. It is now almost 6 o'clock, so I've had my foundation on for nearly 7.5 hours now, which is a pretty good test of how it will last throughout the day. So it hasn't really changed a lot since I last updated you guys. It hasn't gotten any oilier or anything. It hasn't oxidized anymore. My skin still looks really nice and flawless. I probably wouldn't even bother like touching up or anything. It did go a little bit oily, but it's honestly not that bad. I have a lot of foundations that definitely go a lot more oily on me, so this is definitely one that's mild in terms of making me oily, and it doesn't seem to have transferred off anywhere. It's all like still evenly applied to my face, which is always good. It hasn't like sunken into any areas in particular. It still looks pretty even all over my face, and still it makes my skin look flawless, especially in the camera. I am actually pretty happy with this foundation. I wasn't really sure what I was going to think of it for a while there, but it actually did a really nice job, and it's definitely one that I like and will continue to try out. I am kind of annoyed that the colour isn't quite right. I probably wouldn't buy it for the New Zealand retail price because that is around $40, which is a little bit ridiculous. I don't think I like it enough to pay that price. But if you're in the US or somewhere where it's quite affordable, or if you buy it off the ry.com.au website, then it's definitely worth giving it a go. If you have dry skin or very, very oily skin, I don't know how it would suit you. I do think it's probably better for more normal skin, but in saying that, I am quite oily and it's lasted fairly well on me. If you've tried this foundation out, leave a comment down below and let me know what you think of it and what your skin type is, so other people can read through the comments as well. Let me know if there are any foundations you want me to do first impressions reviews on. I'll leave a playlist of the ones I have done previously down below. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel, and I will see you guys in my next video. The other thing that I got is the makeup remover pen. I've heard really good things about this.